Welcome. It's just afternoon, isn't it, to everybody? Let me just preface what I'm going to say. I've been involved as a sort of layman patient representative with NPCA for around 4.5 years. And what I have gathered, what I have gained, and what I hope the patients I deal with have gained is a huge amount of insight into how much data is collected, how valid that data is. And things do get done because of it. Now, data is beyond most laymen. Certainly, I don't understand most of it, but the NPC there have always been there to try and make it understandable by patients. And one of the most important things I think we've had input into is producing things like simple infographics. Very often what you are doing needs to be demonstrated to, let's say, local support groups that I talk to. The ability to have simple infographics is hugely important. And the NPCA are keen. I've got to say, it's not backslapping for anybody, but they are really keen on keeping patients involved and being part of their process. And indeed, there have been 2 patients who've been involved as co-authors recently in some of the work that's been published by NPCA. I've got 3 things I'd just like to very briefly pick up on from this morning. The importance of identifying local outcomes is a slightly two-edged sword. Yes, it's available for anybody who wants to go online, but many patients are actually quite anxious about finding out or criticising what is happening to their local environment. And what do they do about it? Are they going to upset their local clinicians by, if you like, making a fuss? But I think patients have a responsibility to try and themselves, not just, if you like, say things need to be done, but do something about it themselves. And we can do that in relatively small ways, but also important ways, being involved in local cancer networks and that sort of thing. But to be able to do that, as I say, we, simple people like me, need simple information that we can convey to those people. And that's, I think, where the NPCA could be to be hugely important. The impact of COVID, I don't think, can be underestimated on any branch of healthcare. And there have been huge amounts of actual positivity, which I think have come out from that because, or from a patient's point of view, it's stimulated a huge amount more of data collection and people finding out exactly what was happening and what's been happening, for instance, with how much chemotherapy is being used, how much novel hormone agents are being used instead, and the future impact of that perhaps on their care. We've seen the saga of PSA testing continue to burn on, and there's never going to be, I suspect in my lifetime, an easy answer to it. It's a simple thing, but the knock-on effects of that are hugely complex. And we as patients do need to understand how much is involved in, yeah, I've got a PSA test, I've had a scan, getting that scan interpreted. What do you do with the investigations you've got? And again, that's something else that patients possibly should be more vociferous about. Get on to your politicians if you don't think you've got enough local resources. Get into the local paper, get on local radio, whatever it takes. Grab every opportunity as a patient to put forward their needs. And lastly, I think I'm a dinosaur. I've never been into social media in any great way. Digital media, digital communication is the way forward, particularly with things like patient surveys. And you can be very surprised at what can be achieved by that. I was recently involved in a survey run commercially by a setup called Don't Be Patient, who were commissioned by a pharmaceutical company to gather a lot of data about prostate cancer patients. They advertised solely through digital media, on Facebook, on Google, that sort of thing. They got 600,000 initial hits on their advertising overall. That led to around about 45,000 who actually went on to the survey, which took 40 minutes, and the vast majority of people did that in one hit. It then came down to 5,000 men from 3 different countries who completed a proper survey, and the data that's come out of that is quite amazing. So I think the future from collecting data is electronic. It's going to take a long while to get that through, but we're not dealing with patients like me who are 75. We're looking at men with younger age groups. We're looking at people who are going to get prostate cancer in the future. And this is the generation of today, the smartphone generation. And that's what we need to look at. So I have been absolutely thrilled with being part of NPCA. I would encourage anybody who wants to get involved to be involved with it. And yeah, it's a privilege. It's a true privilege to be part of this organisation, and thank you for that.